Thanks for joining us on What Matters This Week. I'm Lauren Maloney. Mayor Miro Weinberger from Burlington is back. Mayor, thanks for being here.
It's good to be back, Lauren. Good to see you.
We've got town meeting day to talk about very soon. I want to briefly, though, start on the mask mandate.
Yes.
In about a week or so, it may be up for possible renewal. You don't think it will need to happen?
Yeah, that's right. I think, look, I think Burlington was one of the first cities in the state to really push hard on masks way back in March of, we started working on fabricating our own masks in March of 2020. I really believed in masking through much of the pandemic and supported the reinstatement of the mask mandate in December when there was a lot of uncertainty around Omicron. But we're past the Omicron wave. We're down something, depending on what measurement you're looking at, 80% or more in terms of where we were versus the peak of Omicron. We know that Omicron has had less devastating health impacts than prior waves. I just don't think there's any reason at this point to keep this broad mask mandate in place. And I essentially agree with many of the other governors that have been rolling the mandates back in recent weeks because of the improvement of the situation. I do think that this doesn't mean, I think some people, particularly people who are immunocompromised, very elderly, so anyone who's unvaccinated,
Sure.
There still are risks to be concerned about, but I think we can be much more targeted in the way we address those risks going forward, at least for now.
Mayor, earlier this week, the Director of Racial Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging announced she's leaving.
Yes.
This sounds like something you were expecting.
Oh, I don't know about that, Lauren. I mean, I think Taisha Green, she's been with us for almost 2 years. She's been these same challenging 2 years. She started the day that I gave the State of the City back in April of 2020. She's had an enormous impact in the time she's been here. She did exactly what I hoped she would in the sense of making sure that the city leadership team was always looking at the decisions we were making through the lens of racial justice and racial equity. She's built a really strong team within this Racial Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging department, and I appreciate and really grateful for her service, and I will miss her counsel and her candor, and I wish her the best in whatever's next for her. She's still, I don't think she has not kind of laid out what that will be, but we wish her well, and I'm now focused on keeping that department strong through this transition.
I'm sure you've seen several of the reports out there. However, was her budget slashed? There was talk about maybe Juneteenth being given to another department or Burlington City Arts.
Yeah, those statements were made by President Tracy. I have no idea why he is making those statements. They are wholly inaccurate from my perspective.
I did reach out to Taisha Green. She has not responded to put out a comment out there. But I did want to get your reaction to Keisha Hinsdale said this constitutes a crisis of leadership in the mayor's office. Your response to that?
So, again, Lauren, what I'm focused on in the wake of Taisha moving on is ensuring that the work that Taisha initiated, continues. I'm having very good meetings with leaders within the department and talking about the future of the department, and I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that the transition is successful and we continue to do what we've been doing for the last year, which I think we have a lot to be proud of. I don't think there's any other community in the state that has had as proactive and robust an effort to address racial equity and justice issues, and we're going to continue that record. Absolutely. Taisha is with us through March 10th, so certainly by that time we will announce at least an acting director, and it may take us some time longer to have a new permanent director. Speaking of that acting title, yes,
you tried to nominate acting chief John Murad to full chief. the city council was split on that. And you have said since that John Murad will be acting chief indefinitely. But what does that word mean, and how long is indefinitely?
So, yes, we had, after a long search process, I brought forward Chief Murad for appointment as the permanent chief. I think we are very fortunate that we've had Chief Murad through this long period. That when it began, no one thought we'd go 2 years without a permanent chief. I'm thankful for his service, and I think we are fortunate to have such a strong candidate to be the permanent chief, and I thought it was really an opportunity for the council to continue the rebuilding of the department that is really necessary in the wake of the decision to cut the department by 30%. And I think it was a missed opportunity to continue that work of rebuilding and making progress together on public safety and policing issues. But although the council missed that made that mistake, the way the charter works, the way the appointment process works, John can and will, and he's agreed to continue to serve as the acting chief. I am not reopening the search process. We spent many months on that, and I think it's really important for the department for there to be stability now. I think it's unfortunate that he doesn't have the full backing of the department, but yes.
You don't plan on renominating him, possibly if there's a change in some of these contested city council races?
I haven't made any final decisions about whether or not and when we would bring back an appointment. It's certainly possible that we would come back. I think it would be better to have a chief that has the kind of mandate of not just the mayor and half the council, but a full vote of the council. So it is possible we'll bring it back, but it's right now what Chief Murad and I are focused on is doing the work, addressing the fact that burglary is up dramatically, addressing the concerns that so many had about behaviors in the downtown last summer.
What can he do with the acting prefix that he can't do as chief?
From a technical, legal perspective, there's no real difference. I think that what it means to be a permanently appointed chief is that you have a year commitment, and I think it is what really the difference shows is that you can make longer term plans, I think, much more easily. As it is challenging, I think, typically as an acting leader to make long-term decisions because everyone knows there could be a change there. Here, however, I think it is a little different because I'm saying very clearly we've gone through the search process. Chief Murad has my confidence. Unless something dramatic were to change, he will continue on. And hopefully that endorsement from me allows us to move forward on some of these important longer-term public safety issues that are really quite pressing and that we need to make progress on.